This is the North End. This is the North End.
Welcome to the North End Week 4 review show. I am blessed with the usual suspects, -1, and we've got one of our favorite guests, JP from California. JP, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. You know, it's a beautiful 85 degrees outside here in California. Sunny SoCal, California.
Sunny
Haven't
SoCal.
seen rain in 6 months, so, you know, pretty good.
Yeah, that's good until you run out of water. Good to how you doing, Paulie? You all right, brother?
Good, man. Good. Personal note, kind of a sad day. Big Norm Macdonald fan.
Yeah.
Pretty shaken by that.
Yeah.
I had this thing where I was going to do like a Norm Macdonald joke to tribute to him, but not one of them could I get through without choking up
without
or
a tear,
without swearing so much that it wouldn't be appropriate for this podcast.
We need 10 minutes before we can swear, guys, so try not to swear on the YouTube.
We need a really good dick joke.
You can say dick.
We gotta have that in the first.
You might even be able to say cock. I don't know. I think you can say cock, but it's we're testing it. Nobody's watching anyway. Let's be honest. They'll watch it afterwards, and then we'll see what the YouTube algorithm tells us. I'm going to go to the one and only Connie, who squeezed in as the intro was going, just in time, pal. Good to see you, mate. How you doing? How's things?
Not too bad, man. I'm a little bit.
Oh wait. Okay. You finish what you're saying, and when you're done, hook up the right microphone. But tell us how you're doing first.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, but it's not the right microphone. So, once you've finished, how are you doing? And then
good.
And then mute your mic. Mute your microphone.
Connie, if I don't hear the butter in your voice, I don't like it.
It's immediately noticeable, right?
This might be what I'm working with, so let me give it a try here. But pretty upset about the Norm Macdonald thing. I didn't realize he had cancer. Didn't know he had it for 10 years. But absolute beauty. Yeah, tough day. Sad to see him go, but happy to be here.
For sure. So there's some games today that happened. Of course, we're going to get into the week, the review of the Premier League, but the Champions League started today, and some specific games I obviously want to point out to a couple of the lads here that it's difficult to lose to the young boys like that, isn't it? In the 95th minute, I just want to throw out there: Spurs also lost to the young boys in the Champions League the last time they were in it. So I've got nothing to say. Actually, we lost worse than you guys did. So, but I just thought it was an interesting situation. I expect you, Connie. I'll start with you. I expect, because we want to test your microphone, I expect you're not too worried. That was away from home, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely worried. I mean, we want to get off to a win in the Champions League, and the performance was extremely concerning. It was poor. I did think it was weird. I'm shocked that the Champions League or any major European league would let a team play with like fake turf. I was not even aware until I started watching the game. They're like, oh, they're playing on fake. I didn't even know that was allowed. Like
they're like the only European team that has that, and that's why they've, again, second time they've been in the Champions League, not expecting it. So,
but you can only have so many excuses. I was talking to Paul about it earlier. Just a really, really, and we'll talk about the games that happened on the weekend. It's my same concern with it's this slow tempo, lack of energy, and but yeah, it is the first game, but they need to bounce back. But definitely upsetting.
Paul, any thoughts on that game before we move on?
No, it's terrible.
The honesty comes in out. I love it.
It was just fucking. I don't want to be the guy who makes excuses, but like you can see where that turf was influencing so many United mistakes, because like they just like the read of the grass was so foreign to them.
It's very strange.
Like players like Wan-Bissaka cannot afford to have ball control under that pace on that surface, and that kind of leads to like the red card. His totally his fault, like avoidable completely. Jesse Lingard makes a mistake, passes the ball between the goalie and the keeper. I honestly think that the mechanics of that pass work out totally fine if that was on grass. I think the ball just bounced in a level where he wasn't used to it. But at the same time, it's like, that's just horrible.
Did you think? I wonder if they trained on it. I'd be curious. Did they train on it the day before? They must have. But even then, it's still in a game. In a game, it's different, right? All right. Let's get on to the Premier League. We're gonna get into week 4. Different week than the previous few weeks. I'm gonna bring this up on screen. And Connie, I'm gonna let you roll with it, brother.
Man, let's start with you, dude. Crystal Palace 3 undefeated.
Hang on a second.
Spurs.
Let's take a beat. Can we take a beat, Connie? Because all that stuff there on the left. Yeah, I mean, you say that stuff too.
We? I mean, we'll get through it. United are top. I guess they're tied on points with a bunch of other teams. A lot of goals scored, clean sheets. Bruno with a screamer. We'll get to that. Mikel Antonio will also get to him. Not a great weekend for him. And 12 debuts, which is great. We love to see it. It's week 4. We're rocking and rolling after the international break.
Just before we get rolling on this, Connie, I want to point out an interesting tinfoil hat statistic. They have the manager of the month, and then they have the player of the month, and almost always each of them fail miserably after they've been given the award. So we saw what happened to Spurs, which we're going to get into shortly. But look what happened to Antonio. Gets a red card, second yellow. The two people that won the awards ended up having the worst week following.
I love that stuff. That's a little bit like the EA Sports curse, where if you're the athlete chosen to be on the cover of EA Sports,
you have like
say
the worst
goodbye to
season
your career.
Yeah, for sure. So I just want to chuck that in. I thought that would be fun. But let's get to the shellacking. I'm ready to go.
All right, so walk us through it. Crystal Palace 3, Spurs 0. Before you get started, Spurs were terrible, and I know we talked about it on the weekend. We got together for a couple of beers. I do think that perfect record, the performances leading up to this. Well, I'll let you speak to it, Brian. But if I was a Spurs fan, I would have taken those 9 points and ran. But did it catch up with them? What happened here? Just a really.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that happen. We all kind of know what happened when it comes to the Argentinian boys and that whole sort of situation that kind of coincided with the Brazil situation. 3 players that, including Davinson Sanchez, who's Colombian, couldn't play. They weren't playing previously anyway, but Sonny gets injured, not able to play. Tanguy Ndombele still not really fully in the squad. Eric Dyer gets injured in the first 15 minutes. Nuno decides to play 3 defensive midfielders to start the game. It's just sort of like everything that could go wrong and every decision making that could go wrong, because I do think Nuno got it like a total mess. That's what happened, and we ended up getting the beating we deserved. It was hard. It was a hard one, especially after just kind of gloating a little bit, knowing full well that it was like not for good reason gloating, but gloating because it's just nice to be first and Arsenal to be last in the same week. Enjoyed that for a short period of time. I knew it was going to be short, but it was awful. It was fucking awful. I think didn't make it to 10 minutes. Sorry, guys. It was really. I just couldn't. I mean, why does this have to be the first game? It was just so poor from Nuno's perspective and who he put on that pitch. You don't start Winks, Skip, and Højbjerg in a 3 in a midfield. Against anybody. It was just an absurd choice for me. Maybe he thought he didn't have any other choice, but I thought he could have put Dele in that 3, maybe as a bit more attacking and a bit more creative, and then pushed Brian Heelan into the left side and gave us something going forward, because we had nothing going forward. So yeah,
a lot of chatter today in the English media today and yesterday, and maybe even over the weekend. A lot of people saying that Harry Kane's head's not in it.
I know, we had that conversation. I think that's a load of cobs.
No, but even like Talk Sport, a lot of the outlets are really trying to pick up on it.
Even Talk Sport, they always look for that fucking.
It might be the media thing.
It's trash.
Okay, so here's my question, Brian. How many? I know Harry Kane typically doesn't score in August. Yada yada yada. How long before this kind of stuff goes on board before you are concerned, or are you slightly concerned right now?
I'd be concerned if the next international break happens and he still is looking like this, which I think is about 3 games or 4 games. I would be very concerned at that point. But I think he'll probably score about 3 or 4 before that. So
we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah.
You guys were due for a loss. You know who was due for a win?
Wait. No,
JP. Sorry, JP.
Can we just? Crystal Palace was also involved in this game. Can we just talk about Crystal Palace?
We didn't give them some credit. I was gonna say that they were very good and they deserved the win. And Gallagher in the middle was incredible. Really, like that's one of the best transfers of the window, I think. And I didn't expect that, but he was brilliant.
Besides
Edward,
that, like
Edward off the
Edward
bench
as
with
well.
2
goals. Yeah.
he's
That was
he's
a
gonna be good
defense in
player.
shambles, but we'll see what he does against other clubs.
But Spurs are what 3-1 now. They won their first game against Man City. They lost this one relatively. Brian, if you could have said 3-1 after these results without giving you the spread, you would have taken
Pagan
all
shit,
day, right?
pagan
Oh
shit.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
but
they
Spurs
lost
fans
this
are
game
losing
as
it.
well.
They're all like Nuno out now. Nuno out. I'm just
Come on.
get your head.
Settle down.
Of course, mate. This is how fans are.
Yeah.
Christ, man, social
course.
media.
I heard
calm
Crystal
down.
Palace are going to win the title, and Vieira's got so
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
pendulum goes both ways.
It's absurd.
Who needed a win more than anybody in the Premier League? Arsenal needed a win more than anybody. 1-0. Aubameyang gets kind of a lucky bounce. They score. They win 1-0. I watched it. This was not a convincing performance.
Not convincing
by
at all.
any means. They're still in trouble. Norwich, I do think, are arguably the worst team in the league. But I don't know. Like, Paul, does this say anything for Arsenal? Like, do you have any hope for them moving forward? It's looking really dim.
For Arsenal, yeah, I think. Tomiyasu comes in for his debut. He looked pretty good. Ramsdale debut gets a shutout. Gabriel's return to the back 4 or back 5, if you want to look at it that way. I think their defense looked much better with him being there. It's the first game of the season. He was man of the match. That's promising. They had slew of shots. There's a little bit of trouble going on in the offensive end, but Norwich are a good side. Like, they dominate possession. They can't finish, but they dominate possession. And they don't typically concede a lot of shots against an opponent. So I think if you're an Arsenal fan, this isn't necessarily the complete win that you wanted to see, but you could definitely watch this game and go, oh yeah, that's my team starting to emerge from the dust and wreckage that was the team that started the season, because that really wasn't their best 11 by far to start the season. And Gabriel's their best defender, and to have a games against Lukaku as an example and not have your best defender, like that's terrible. And Tomiyasu looked good, like for a guy who is playing center back. I think he had a couple of
He plays
lock
both.
in on nets. Like he had a few offensive chances that I was surprised by. So I think if you're a Arsenal fan, not the most entertaining game, but definitely some positives you can take away from the performance. If you're a Norwich fan, you're in for a great season. It just won't be a very effective season. You won't be here for very long. Come by the end of the season, but hold your head up high, because they had their own version of playing well, even though they lost. Like they're still doing okay.
Just don't have anybody up top.
Yeah,
right?
JP, what do you think about this? Because Thomas Partey came on, Ben White was in the game. Like, I think if they're fit and they could get a run of games as a team, like they've had a lot of bad injuries, like they could improve. Like, I don't see them finishing top 7 or top 8, but
to me, I look at them, I see the way they play, and it just doesn't look like a team that's very convinced in their own qualities. Like, this should be Arsenal by themselves should be a top 8 team, right? Just player for player, whatever, right? They should be beating out teams like Everton, competing against Tottenham, and they just look like a team that has the cloud right over everything. And their fan base just eats on them. And you get players. I don't care if you get Partey. I don't care if you get Gabriel. I don't care if you have Aubameyang starting. When your fans kind of turn on you and you hear the rumblings after 25 minutes and you only have 2 shots and it's 50-50 possession, you're not doing that well against a Norwich team, it's going to eat on him. And if the fans start to turn, Arteta will be out, but I think the board will wait a long time and the results could be damning. Like, this could really set him back to a bottom half finish. I got friends who are all like, hey, after that game, they won't be shocked if they get 14th.
Yeah, I would say around 11th or 12th would be my guess, but yeah, I'm with you there.
But I just that's the Arsenal mentality, though. They're so conditioned to be like, the sky is falling, everything is terrible, things are falling apart. Like they were like that when Wenger was there, and they were consistently overperforming to be in Europe every year. Like they didn't know that it was overperforming necessarily. You probably look back and understand that was the case now, but like this reaction to every game, like they won a game against Norwich 1-0.
They didn't play well though, and they scored one goal that was a fluke. So I mean, I just think I would be concerned. And they finished 8th 2 seasons in a row. This is an Arsenal team that everybody's like, it's Arsenal. They should be, like it is a bit of a fall from grace, to say the least. I think so.
There's a few teams you should beat up on. Norwich is definitely one of them. You should beat up on Norwich. You should beat up on Burnley. You should beat up on the Southamptons, possibly the Brentfords of the world. You should beat up against possibly Watford. But the fact is they beat them 1-0 and they only had 52% possession.
Barely. Yeah.
I love when a North American pronounces Norwich.
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 Yeah, it's just Norwich, man. Just to remove the W, you'll be fine.
I'm going to be keeping a close eye on Arsenal. I don't know. I think there's some quality players in there. I could see both sides of the argument. I think
the management's poor. That's my position.
Wow. I mean, there's a lot of people who feel that way. Brentford hosting Brighton. My boy Trossard with the goals. Brighton scoring goals, maybe not more than one, but it's Brentford. Is there much more to be said about this one?
Not a ton. I thought Trossard's goal was great though, right in the at the death. He man, I could see him in a good team with players around him. He reminds me a bit of a Jota in his sort of his positioning and his around the top of the box. His movement is really good. Similar type of player. You put him around with some other players a bit more quality. He's a good player. Like him a lot.
Yep. No, absolutely. Leicester hosting Manchester City. Oh, I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch it. This was a great game of football. I do feel Leicester put in a great shift, and we talked about this on a couple of days ago. I just thought Man City were incredible this game. They worked hard. They got a fortunate bounce. They got the goal, but shots on net, some really good saves, some really good defending. I was just, and it pains me to say this because, I watched United, I watched Chelsea. Man City are just playing at like that peak Man City level. Pep even said we don't have a proper number 9, so we're going to do it by committee. They're going to do it by committee. They just looked great. Leicester looked fantastic. They were just up against a better team. You guys watched the game. What did you think?
I thought it was an annoying example of just how rich and deep the Man City benches, their squad is so unpredictable. I had Silva be maybe a FA Cup, Champions League kind of player. Playing Leicester is a big deal, and that's a top 4, top 5 opponent, and they shocked me with the lineup. They're still not even hitting any kind of stride when it comes to putting their best 11 on the field, which is super annoying. And I thought they played fairly well. It was a classic Leicester defend as best you can and then try to catch them on the counter. And I think the clinical finish wasn't there in this day, and it could have gone the other way. I think Leicester had at least 3 opportunities on the counter that I would have liked them to have scored at least one, but it could have been all 3. They were that good quality of chances. So it's annoying. I think Leicester will feel a little bit hard done by this win, but at the same time, Man City go on the road to Leicester and take away 3 points in the way that they just seem to be comfortable doing now. And that's the champions. That's what it takes to be who they are right now. And there's no real clear issues with that side. And I was worried that maybe they would have issues with all the injuries that they have. And KDB hasn't even really played yet. But fuck, that squad is just so stacked. They're fine.
Oh, man. So listen to this.
It annoys me.
So Vardy almost scores. He's barely offside. Let me read you Manchester City's unused subs, not the subs that came on. So Carson in net, Kevin De Bruyne, John Stones, Ake, Riyad Mahrez, Zinchenko, and I don't know, this guy named Phil Foden. Unused subs. Fernandinho comes on for 5 minutes and Sterling comes on for Torres. It's just an embarrassment of riches. But the football and the product on the field I still think they're cutting ahead of everybody else.
I got to give a shout. I think Pep is doing something so smart, and that is he's giving guys that spent a lot of time this summer playing games breaks. Grealish played games, but he didn't really play that much time.
Yeah, he didn't. He came on as a sub a lot, didn't he?
Time, right?
Yep.
Phil Foden was injured, took a lot of time. John Stones played a lot of games. Kevin De Bruyne was in and out of injury. Zinchenko played every game he was in. He can
do that
smart.
though, JP. I mean,
he does.
Is it smart or is it just I can do this?
No, because he could be playing Sterling from the get-go and burn him out in 2 months. But
that's my point. It's not hard when you have, instead of Sterling, you have Ferran Torres or
Bernardo
Jack
Silva.
Grealish or Bernardo Silva. You're not losing much when you
Wow, you
that
say
player
not
isn't
losing
playing.
much, but it's Sterling over Jesus. And let's be fair, Jesus has done the job right now so far. But if you're going to pick one person to have in that lineup between those two, who you picking every
But
game?
if one's going to do the job still anyway, you're fine.
JP,
That's my
I
point.
get what you're saying, but keep this in mind. Half of the games towards the last season, like let's say 12 was the number, he only played Sterling for 6 of those games. I don't think Sterling is like exactly on.
He's not top of the list.
He's not like this team will always have a Raheem Sterling in the lineup. I actually don't know who the always players are for Man City anymore because Mahrez seems like he's in the doghouse to me. I can't explain it other than he
played a lot
well
at the end of
first
last
game.
season as well, didn't he? He was a go-to in the
He
end of
was
last
the
season.
only like star player that was involved in all the preseason games and was scoring consistently. Like
Very strange. He must have a knock. It's gonna be something like that.
He rotates that forward line a lot, guys, and he rotates like the center backs a little bit. But like Rodri's going to play a lot of games, Ruben Diaz. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if like a Sterling played half the season and still had a great season. He just has so many weapons, and they buy into the whole, hey, we're good. Pep rotates. Everybody knows he rotates. Whereas like a Harry Kane would not be okay with that because he wants to play every game. And there's a lot of premier players in the Premier League who'd be like, hey, man, I got to play every week. The players seem to buy into it, and it's working. It's impressive. I agree with JP. It's incredible.
I am
Anything
pretty
else?
shocked that Jack Grealish is starting from the get-go for Man City, getting game time constantly.
But JP, how good has he been, though? He's fitted
He's been
in
amazing.
great. Yeah.
I knew it. All the Villa guys kind of knew he would be. Some guys are more hung up on the, oh my God, he left us type crap. But he's doing what he could have always done for Villa if Villa had better players. But he's gone. He's just fine. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Good game of football. This next game might have been a little bit of anticipation from some fans, maybe even some global fans. Manchester United hosting Newcastle. Manchester United 4. Newcastle 1. The return of the king, Cristiano Ronaldo. Sluggish 45 minutes, gentlemen. And then 45 minutes in the 47th minute injury time. Shot on net from Greenwood. Who pops up to tap it in? 1-0. CR7. He goes on to score again. Newcastle get one back. I'm going to pause and give it to Paul here. He's a resident United guy, much like myself. Paul, walk us through the game. Walk us through your thoughts on Cristiano's impact. What did you think?
I think I just kind of blacked out of happiness for a minute. I was just like, we'll jump ahead a little bit. I think this is actually better suited later, but whatever. It's on screen. Funny enough, Cristiano Ronaldo is our star player of the weekend. There it is. Sponsored by ISO Date. Cristiano
There's Luke for
Ronaldo
that.
with crazy numbers. Without getting too much into why he's a star player, I think it's kind of all right there.
Yeah.
This really is, by the way, for next time, the thing that should happen after we go through all the games.
We didn't have a discussion. I thought it was a good moment. So check
all
it
right.
Go with it.
Yeah, it was just like a super like emotional, weird, surreal, crazy moment. Like everything from the commentators, like it went viral how poetic he was with the description of this moment. How Ronaldo and United are reunited, and it was just like, what the fuck? And he scores that first goal, which is an absolute gimme. And I'm immediately like, I forgot to put money on him scoring 2 today because I knew he was going to score 2. And I was like, oh, God, it's going to happen. He's going to score 2. It was a very Man United-like performance. Newcastle got back into the game in a way that still, I can't tell you how that happened. But it was just, the memes are true. Cristiano Ronaldo scoring 1 or 2 goals that game was inevitable. It was a really great game. Everything from, even Jesse coming back and scoring a goal, getting on the score sheet, that was a really feel-good moment. The Hollywood factor was there. It was just a fun game that I think a lot of United fans are probably getting overly excited about and predicting the future and what this all means for our season and winning everything and yada, yada, yada. I don't think anybody should be saying any of that shit, but I think we should all just have a really good moment for what was, one of those special games that we should always remember probably for the rest of our life when one of the top 2 players of all time made his second debut for United.
Can I
Yeah, sure.
chime in here a little bit? No,
jerk him off while you're at it.
Of course, and honestly, I was taking the piss out of this situation like across the board when it was all happening. Everybody's having a wank about Ronaldo, but I have to admit, I really enjoyed it, and I'm not taking the piss. I thought I was going to be a little bit annoyed, and right up until kickoff, I was like, "Fucking whatever, dude, whatever." And then he goes and scores 2 goals. Now they weren't brilliant goals. One of them, I thought the second goal was fantastic. His touch to get in on his, and then nutmeg was fantastic. The first goal was, it was what it was. But yeah, it was good stuff from Ronaldo, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was good football. I thought that United looked really good. They were having fun up top.
Did you think that? I actually thought they were poor.
Let me finish. At the end of the game, when they scored a lot of goals, and when Pogba started to look good, there was some great movement in between the lines. The dummy and then the Lingard goal. There was some nice stuff that happened in the last 10 minutes, and I was like, that's if he can bring that to United, like not more than for just 10 minutes and more for that like period of time when they're comfortable, then there's a massive player there. And I think there's obviously a massive player there, but we're gonna see the Ronaldo that I think everybody's excited to see. And I hate to admit it, I enjoyed it. JP?
Yeah, I for all the piss talk we give, telling Paul he's jerking off Ronaldo and whatnot. I thought the romanticism of him going back to I did. Right, you were like the glorious Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the best players ever, returning to Manchester United. Come on.
Oh, I didn't say that. That was the commentator. That was the professional guy making chills go through
JP, you do know it's true, man. You could be a rival fan. He's a different level of player, dude.
If he went to City, I would have been so furious. I'm actually happy. Like the romantic part of it, him going back to United, kind of is like, all right, cool. And like the tap in, I was like, wow, that's your first goal. Like that's kind of just such a gimme, but his second one was just pure quality. Just smashed it. Luke Shaw just ran the show right there, and that whole play just collected and played. It was so simple.
That keeper dropped that ball because Ronaldo was around him, though, right?
Yeah, whatever. Newcastle's another team that's going to get beat up on, and this was the perfect match for Manchester United to go into. And I feel like in 6 weeks, you're going to just see them just crushing teams.
Well, I don't know about that, man. I'm very concerned. I thought the performance was poor. His 2 goals and a stunner from Bruno, and then a really late one. But other than that, Newcastle, trust me, that it wasn't a great performance. We saw.
Objectively, Man United didn't play well.
No, they didn't. I'm telling you, and I am worried about them after watching them today. Like I have a lot of concerns, and I think right now Ronaldo, he papered over a lot of cracks from the performance. The story was about him that day. You're right, JP. The romance was huge. Everyone was buying in, and it was kind of a fuck you to the world. He's like, I'm back and I'm still scoring goals. I'm 36. I'm in the Premier League. Everybody who doubted me, keep doubting me. See what happens. And I think even like I've heard a lot of rival fans being like, man, we have a lot of respect for Ronaldo. And that'll be before we move over to the next game. That was my one takeaway. I saw a lot of people either on YouTube or on social media of rival fans. Usually they're taking the piss out of other players. I heard a lot of rival fans being like, it's Ronaldo. It's different. And then he started playing and I started watching. I'm like, Jesus. Everyone's right. He's at another level. Him and Messi have been there, and he's still there at 36. It was. I'm with Paul. It was, as a United fan, it was a memorable day. I'll always remember where I was, and it was a lot of fun. But let's not take too long. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, everybody can calm down.
Yeah. Southampton hosting West Ham 0-0. Not a lot to say. Huge talking point though. 95th minute, the player of the month, Mikel Antonio. All you fantasy owners start freaking out. Red card.
It's a big hurt on that one. Big hurt.
Wild card forced, but 0-0. West Ham probably a disappointing result considering the way they started the season. But any thoughts on this one, fellas?
Chelsea loanee Broha comes off the bench to get essentially the man of the match in 15 minutes worth of gameplay for Southampton. That's the interesting storyline of this game. Comes in and has a ball knocked off the line late and hits the crossbar as well, all within the span of 15 minutes.
Oh, man. Honestly,
the kid's going to be – I think he's going to be a player. Like, there's talk about this kid coming out of Chelsea for a long time now and how good he is.
He's at Southampton now? He came off the bench?
He's on loan at Southampton.
I missed that bit. Sorry, I apologize. I didn't see the whole game. I only saw the highlights. So
well, that's why we do the little dig in. He's going to be – I think he's going to – I don't know how good he is ultimately, right? But there's an issue right now. Like they haven't really replaced Ings.
It's a big issue, isn't it?
They got Adams and Armstrong trying to do some good up there at the top. I think he's going to start getting a chance in the Premier League.
They need something, right? Don't they?
He's a big body and he's definitely got guile. But if you get a chance, the header that was caught off the line during this game was that's a fox in the box kind of header. Like it was so well done. The shot he hit off the crossbar was impressive as well. He was a mile out. It was his only really option to shoot. But I think this is the takeaway for me for this game is how good this Broha kid may be, and keep an eye on that space.
Southampton have a lot of those players too, right? They have come through over the years that, I know it's Chelsea player, but they end up developing them and getting to a position where another club's going to come in and buy them. So interesting.
Well, that's kind of classic. Like we were talking about, if I talked about all the guys that were Chelsea loanees, like Gallagher, and Broha, and like, they're doing well in the Premier League, which is nuts because usually loanees are, somewhere off in Germany or in the Championship, but Chelsea have actually got a few players doing well on loan in the Premier League.
Yeah, for sure.
If you put all the Chelsea loanee players, we should check out to see if you put all the Chelsea loanee players that are all over Europe, make a team of it. Where would this team end? Or are we going to say they're outside the top? They're 16th, 15th place in the EPL? That's ridiculous.
We should do that, actually. You know what, JP? You're going to take that on. You're going to put together the Chelsea loanies.
Some content for you there, JP. Content.
Okay, moving on here. Watford hosting Wolves. What did we say last week? We said maybe the most unlucky team in the Prem with results. Wolves get their win, 2-0. A bit of an OG, bit of luck, but then they score again in the 83rd minute. Wolves are a good team. If you take the time to watch them, they're figuring it out. They're playing attractive football.
I was going to say, if I could chime in on the attractive football conversation, they're a little bit more entertaining. We loved Wolves under Nuno because of the underdog sort of scenario. But watching this Wolves they're really entertaining going forward. It's not that sort of counterattacking team that we saw under Nuno. So I'm excited about it. I was like, wow. When they played Spurs and when they played United, it was arguably the better team. It's just that final third issue that they've had.
Not arguably, Paul. They were the better team against United and Spurs. They looked great.
It's Brian, by the way, not Paul. But thank you
for. Sorry about that.
It's fine. But yeah, no, and that's my point. I knew that going into this game, obviously it's the game they needed. It's Watford. Watford don't have a ton going forward either, and they need to get a win and to sort of get a bit of confidence. I think we're going to see Wolves move up the table and be relatively comfortable because of. They do have a ton of quality, and they look good in this game.
I agree. New manager, new look. They're looking good. Gentlemen, Chelsea hosting Aston Villa. As much as Ronaldo stole the headlines on Saturday, Romelu Lukaku
JP's face.
Yeah, Romelu Lukaku has hit the ground running. He also had a brace. First goal was fantastic. Then the second goal was just a rocket from outside the box. I was a little concerned about how he was going to fit into Chelsea's lineup. I'd be shocked, barring injury, if he didn't win the Golden Boot this year. He looked great. Chelsea looked great. We do need to talk about Saul Niguez. One of the worst 45 minutes I've ever seen in a debut for a player ever.
Atrocious.
Just not up to snuff. But outside of that, he was taken off at halftime. Kovacic played fantastic. Fuck, man, Chelsea looked like the real deal. JP, let's go to you. This one must have stung, but what was your takeaway from the game?
My takeaway was Chelsea have a $100 million striker, and he showed it. He really got two opportunities. He was actually pretty quiet. I was really happy with how Villa kind of dealt with him, but he's just so good. His third goal, that just snapshot was just impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful goal.
And his first one was nothing to slouch about either. I mean, he took Transabi to the ground, no problem, and then just cut him. He looks like a man. He looks like a man playing against little kids sometimes.
Can I tell you something? So we had him at United, right? And if you look at his physique, he went to Italy, and I guess he took a lot of slack, and he trimmed down and slimmed down quite a bit
faster.
Inter Milan. And he looks more agile. He looks faster.
Yeah.
They figured out he actually had a food allergy.
Come on.
Their doctors figured out he had a food allergy, and they changed his diet, and it was the diet that was kind of thickening him up. And
really,
once he changed his diet,
so interesting.
he shed some pounds.
There you go. But right now, guys, it looks like he's the X factor. I'm not saying Aston Villa are a bad team. Aston Villa, I think, can do okay this year, but there's not much he can do against that Chelsea team right now, especially with him at the number 9 slot. There really isn't. Like, you can't fault Villa really too much. With all due respect, that's just they were playing a team significantly better than them.
Chelsea didn't even play that well in this game, to be fair.
No.
I gotta tell you, like, the storyline here is great. Yeah, Lukaku did what Lukaku did. The storyline is partially Saul Niguez is terrible, terrible.
Didn't matter though. Didn't matter.
It could have. The Aston Villa's midfield ran ramp shot over the midfield of Chelsea. The only reason why Chelsea were in this game is, in my opinion, because Kovacic came on and said, all right, well, we're going to sort this midfield out.
Oh, yeah.
Lukaku scores a goal, but that goal was entirely made by Kovacic's pass that broke the lines.
Yeah.
I think took 3 or 4 defenders out of it.
Skip the midfield, yeah, for sure.
And Kovacic scores his first goal in front of the Chelsea fans. So, yeah, great for Lukaku, whatever, but Kovacic is the guy who turned it all around because that midfield was getting fucking beat up while Saul Niguez was still on the field.
And let me tell you something. He was the forgotten man last year when Jorginho and Conte were healthy. They were playing. This guy couldn't get in the lineup. And, Paul, I even said to you on the transfer deadline, I would love to put in a cheeky $25 million bid for Kovacic. I love him. He never stops moving, not afraid of a tackle.
Definitely cheeky, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I listen. They signed Niguez. I'm like, we'll take Kovacic.
Gotta be more money than
40, 45.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, dude. You're going to have to sell to a direct rival.
In the Premier League, in the direct rival in the Premier League, more than 20.
But JP, California, tell me if you think I'm wrong here. I thought Chelsea also won this game because Mendy stood on his head. I thought,
I'd agree with that. Mendy was brilliant.
Yes and no. Like, Mendy made some great saves. Villa actually targeted Saul, what's his name?
Saul Niguez.
Saul. They targeted him being at his first game, and they ran right over him. McGinn looks much better.
McGinn looked good, actually.
I think if the results that landed to Watkins landed to Ings, it finished. But Ings had 17 touches. He just didn't get into the team very well. He didn't play very well. And I think that really did hurt us because it was almost like playing with like 10 and a half men instead of 11. Ings, of course, made runs and helped out. In the end, Villa got beat 3-0 against a better team, but I was really happy with the performance. And I actually think it's the best game Villa has played all season. You know, we were on and we had more touches in their box. We had more passes into their box than they had into ours. But
I think Paul makes a good point. I think the difference there is Mendy because he made some key saves at key moments.
Yeah. I thought this game could have been 3-2 either team.
The chances that you guys created over what they created, they just had that clinical striker and a really good goalie who made some saves that I don't think any of us expected. It was like, holy crap, another one. He just kept doing it.
Yeah,
we got to start. I'm going to start saying this very loud and proud. We got to start saying we expect this stuff from him because he's been nothing short of stellar.
He's been brilliant.
Since he joined Chelsea.
What a signing! What a signing!
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yep. No, it was good. It was an entertaining game. Like, honestly, it was one of the more fun games to watch this weekend. And
I enjoyed it.
If you're a Villa fan, you still got to feel good about where you guys are at, like post Grealish. Gentlemen,
everything but the standings.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything but the standings. Honestly, we should probably have 3 more points, but you know what? I'll take it.
It's early on, JP.
Week 4. Leeds hosting Liverpool. 20th minute, 100th goal for
Wasn't a broken leg, JP.
Salah. Mo Salah opens his scoring to join the Century Club. 3-0. They go on to score 2 more goals. Let's take a minute here. Mo Salah joins the Century Club in the Premier League. I want to kind of take a moment. I think this guy, because of maybe he's not an English player, I don't think he gets the respect that he deserves from what he's done in the Premier League. I know he's in contract talks.
What's he supposed? What more respect is he supposed to get?
Dude, he's a right winger, man, who's got 100 goals.
He's not a right winger. He's a right-sided forward in a. He's not. He's a right-sided forward in a 4-3-3.
Get into this all the time.
No, it's not. It's not. Get into it. It's
plays from the wing, man. Plays from the wing.
No, he doesn't.
On the right side forward.
He plays as a right-sided forward in a 4-3-3. This is not.
You got Mane on one side, you get Salah on the other side, and then they have either Firmino or Jota. He plays from the wing.
I see Brian's point, but all the other people in the list are center forwards.
Thank you.
They're all center forwards, and he's the only guy that's a right right forward, right winger,
Right-sided forward. Yeah, good for
whatever
him.
you want to call it. But
Eden,
he's not a center forward.
Eden Hazard was a left-sided forward. Did the
With
same thing.
not even remotely the
he's
same
doing
amount of
great
goals.
at Real Madrid. He's
Adam,
so good at Real Madrid.
No, I'm talking about at Chelsea for a period of time. It's the same type of player doing the same type of thing.
No, it's
isn't
not.
a strike. Yes, it is.
That's a wild thing that you just said. That we're
Left-sided-
talking about goal
left-sided-
scoring. Hazard couldn't lace his boots when it came to goal scoring.
I'm talking
That's
about in the
my
Premier
point.
League, mate. I'm talking
Yes,
about
so
in
am
the
I.
Premier League.
So am I. His goal scoring record is nowhere close
Because
to
he's played in
Salah's.
more seasons. Let's like relax a
No, he
little bit, Connie.
hasn't. No, he hasn't.
I think we do have to say
Wow, okay.
Liverpool's team is, while Liverpool have a very expensive team, their team has not been near expensive as Man City's,
Yeah.
Chelsea's, United's. Liverpool have actually done really well winning a title, winning a Champions League, getting players like Salah, Firmino, Van Dijk. Van Dijk's super expensive.
Oh, yeah.
But the rest of them, pennies compared to what they should be worth now that they've been playing in the EPL so long.
Sure, I would agree with that. It's just, the point. I'll finish my point at this is when you understand formations of a 4-3-3, you don't have wingers. You have right-sided or left-sided forwards, and when you're comparing them, you have to compare the players that are similar to them. Not a right winger. He's not a right winger. He's not. Eden Hazard is not a left winger. He's a left-sided forward or right-sided forward. That's my point.
But
So,
for not being a center forward, he's not impressed with the 100 goals.
dude. I think he's incredible. I captained him
Who
in my
doesn't
fantasy.
think Salah's incredible?
Yeah, I
That's
don't
my
know,
argument
man.
with Connie. It's like who's not praising him? Over
Some
the past
people don't
3
give him a
years?
lot of credit.
Apparently,
man.
some people do not. Yeah.
Yeah,
Who are those some
seriously.
people? I see it all the
It's-
time. I don't
Oh,
get
when you talk about the big names all the time, he's kind of the forgotten man, and I just don't think he
Bullshit!
should. I'm
I
telling
like
you, man.
Carragher's point on, you know what he said, in your all-time Liverpool best 11, Salah beats everybody for the right winger. Period.
100%.
right-sided
He's
forward. But
incredible.
yeah, I agree.
So, boys, second half, Fabinho scores. They go up 2-0, and then a bit of a, I don't know, will we call it a controversial moment? There's a tackle on Harvey Elliott from Strujic, and they didn't show the replay on TV because my understanding is it was supposed to look like a violent tackle. But when you look back at the tackle, a lot of people are saying it shouldn't have been a red. And as of today, Leeds are appealing the red card. I have a feeling they might win it. I know Paul, myself, and Brian JP, not sure if you had a chance. We've all seen the tackle. I'll start with you, Brian. I know there's a bit of a scissor thing there. Is that a red for you?
I think it is right on the edge. I think it's right on the edge, and I think you have to go with what the referee called in the pitch, and I don't think overturning it is the appropriate response to it. I think you know, obviously, I think there's probably some influence from the like seeing it and the reaction, that the initial reaction on the pitch from the referee is going to be, oh, it's a red card, because he didn't break a leg. He actually his ankle got dislocated, and it was just a shout out to the health people who are the physios who came onto the pitch and popped it back into place in about 7 seconds, which is an impressive feat for them to do. Probably saved him months of rehab. But yeah, I don't think it should be overturned, because I don't think we know definitively, but he does do a twist with his legs, and it does overturn his leg, which causes the injury. So was it intentionally doing that? Was it an aggressive, violent move? Probably not intentionally, but you can't determine intention based on a replay. So I would say that the red card should stand. It's too bad, because it kind of ruined the game, and you know, which was a good game, despite Liverpool arguably going to win it anyway. I think the red call is the right call, if you ask me.
Anybody disagree, or is everybody okay with the card?
I'm okay. Interestingly enough, Harvey Elliott himself has come out and said it was not a red card.
Wow.
Okay. Well, you know.
Now, he's on a lot of pain medication.
He might be high.
He's all like, woo, not a red card for me.
Let's take
Just
that into
saying.
account.
He's like, I love that guy.
Great shout out to what he did in the hospital.
Possible.
Great shout out he did when in the hospital. There was a kid next to him who was sick, who was a Liverpool fan. I don't remember what he was sick with, but he gave him his kit, gave him his jersey. There's a
Love
good picture
that.
of it. Really nice
Love
from the youngster.
Well, then
Yeah.
in the 92nd minute, after 10 attempts on net, Jesus, Sadio Mane scores to make it 3-0. Man, I thought he was terrible this game. Like, he literally should have scored either 4 goals or like maybe set up some of your teammates. We're in a group chat. A lot of people were complaining about him, but I mean, I don't know. If Leeds are playing top quality teams, Leeds don't hold back, Bielsa ball and all that, I think they're going to lose to everybody in the top 6, because Bielsa doesn't look like he's ever going to change his style, which I respect. And they do push forward. They had chances. I thought Bamford could have done a little bit better, but it comes down to quality, doesn't it? It's just a different gap between the quality and attack.
Yeah,
they're toast. If they play like that, they're toast.
Yeah, you play against Liverpool, City, United, Chelsea, and quite possibly some other teams. You play against the Villa on their day, they're gonna pop in 3-4 goals against you. It's going to be a gunslinging situation for them all season.
I think for Leeds, it's a bit of a second season syndrome too, which we do see quite often as teams get found out to some extent after you know how they play, and you know you go into the next season. And I also think this is something somebody else mentioned on another stream I was on, is that there's a chance that the Leeds players with the fans are a little bit more nervous than they would have been without them. And especially at Ellen Road, it's a really loud place, and you know, if the fans could get on their backs, or if they're just more nervous, just generally. If you look at I can't think of his name right now, midfielder, anyway, one of the midfielders for Leeds, he looked nervous. He looked like his touch on the ball was a bit slower. He looked a bit sketched out more than he was super confident when he was playing last season without the fans. So I think maybe there's something to be said about that. I could be reaching for something.
Yeah, I've started developing that theory of like what's the difference between last year and this year, and the fans are significant.
It's massive, isn't it? You can really see it.
There were guys in Leeds playing last year where it's just like, who is this guy? How is he so good and so clinical? And that's the thing that can happen. Like, you can have guys who are amazing in training who just can't pull it together in front of 80,000 people. So I don't know, and it's probably a realistic expectation. Maybe Leeds have a few of those guys, or at least some of them are like losing a little bit of that calmness or a little bit of that edge that they may have had without the fans. And it wasn't like they were that great a team. Like, they were walking a pretty fine line where, you know, they weren't getting tons of opportunities a game, but they were usually pretty clinical. But if they can't be as clinical because the fans are making them tense up or something like that, then all of a sudden you've got a team that's kind of close to the bottom by the end of the season, as opposed to what they were last season. So I hope it's not that. Like, it would be a terrible thing to find out that some teams just can't be
can't step up with the fans,
exciting
kind of thing, right?
Style in front of fans.
You know what, though? Forget what you say about it. It's always going to be a fun game when they're playing. If they keep playing like that, there's going to be goals because they can score. The other team will score. I don't give a shit. As a neutral, I'll be like, "Oh, Leeds are playing. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna watch." You know what I mean?
It's like Charlie Adams' Blackpool back in the day. It's like they're going to lose a ton of games, but there's going to be some crazy shit that happens.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Beautiful. And then we move to the Monday with Everton hosting Burnley. And I'll tell you, like, I watched this game, and the first half was a snooze fest. And then Burnley take the lead through Ben Mee. Great header. Moise Keane ties it up not long after. And then it's just the Andres Townsend show and Damari Gray. Two friggin' great signings. They both score 3-1, and they like Doucouré scored, but it was offside, and they looked like they could have. They just, once they went ahead with that 2-1 goal, they really kicked it into high gear. It was Monday Night Football, Sky Sports. I was watching it. Rafa Benitez getting a lot of praise, and honestly, for me, and Paul's mentioned this in the past, Alan in the midfield with Doucouré, I think Everton could be a threat this year. Top 6, top 7. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was injured, apparently be out for a couple of weeks. They didn't really. It was
miss fucking
him too
Burnley,
much.
Guys. Let's not get a little too.
Dude, they played well, man. They played well.
Burnley actually ran the game in the first half. They had more possession. But that's my point. Like, you know, if Burnley can run a game against Everton, are we saying that we should be worried about Everton now? I mean, don't get me wrong. Their second half was brilliant. I think in this game, there's not a lot to get from it. That's my position. Yeah. But
can I just correct real fast? It was actually Michael Keane and not Moise Keane that scored the first goal.
Did I call him Moise Keane? Michael Keane scored.
Starts with an M.
Former United player.
Yeah. He's a big boy. He's a good header. This is a good game. I think you can start to see. I mean, I've said this before. It's clear why they picked up Townsend. Townsend's a very good crosser of the ball. He's got high success percentages when it comes to crosses. One of those goals came from a very well executed cross into the box. That goal that he scored was a fucking wonder goal.
Oh, yeah.
One of the stories I liked hearing about this was this week leading up to that game, his mom actually made a compilation video of all his best career goals to basically like get into be like, you are better than what you think you maybe are right now. And then he goes out and has an audacious attempt at goal that flies through the air, breaks the like laws of gravity and scores. And I just think it's I love that. I think it's such a cool little story to this. But at the end of the day, it's all about who their opponent was. it was a bad second half for Burnley. I think that's probably just as much to do with it as Everton's efforts to get into this game. I just thought Burnley kind of looked a little toothless in the second half. And
Can I add something to that, though? Because I was watching the interview with Townsend at the end of the game, and he made a very interesting comment to me. He was playing at Crystal Palace under Roy Hodgson for a couple of seasons there, and he said the way Hodgson coached at Crystal Palace, more of his focus was on the defensive side of the game, and he wasn't being negative about it. He was like, and I really appreciate him teaching me that part of the game because I was lacking when I got there. He goes, but when I got here and when I signed at Everton, I was told, because he's worked with Rafa before in the past, I want you attacking. I know what you're capable of. I know what you've got in your locker. Start getting forward. So he almost, like, it's interesting because we know he's a talented player. We've seen it in the past. So I'm just wondering how many players around the league are maybe kind of locked up because of the manager in the system. And he might be an example of one of those players if he's, so-called let loose a little bit. We might see a little bit more offense from him and a little bit more attack because we know he's capable of it.
I think he's honestly, I think he's significantly part of their plans and their setup right now.
Dude, Damari Gray, 3 goals, 3 games.
I got to eat a little bit of humble pie on that one. I mean, I literally was seeing him when I was talking to you guys, was talking to others, and I saw the recruitment that Benitez was doing, and I was like, I wasn't impressed.
Yeah.
And I got to eat humble pie. Like, he has them drilled. He has their formation set. He knows how the wingers want to play. The team is playing it.
But let's JP. The first half they were crap.
They weren't good. They were not good.
Like,
can we look at the whole 90 minutes and have a Andres Townsend scores a goal like that once every 40 games. He's not going to do that.
Brian
again
knows
over the
this.
Rest
Brian
of the
knows.
season. He played for Spurs. I'm well aware.
He knows
of
the broken promises of Townsend's talent.
Yeah, and I just think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Are
here.
we?
Yes, I think they might be good. I think they might be good.
Guess who they play next?
Who, Everton?
Aston
Villa.
Villa.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens
I think it's a little bit early to say, they're going to finish top 6. They beat Burnley.
I'm saying they've got potential.
And they were shit in the first half. They were shit. Burnley
I gotta
outplayed
tell
them.
you, man. I think Carlo Ancelotti honestly built this whole system around James Rodriguez, and I don't know how well that worked out. I think Rafa might be able to do more with this squad. We've talked about it. They've got good players there. Doucouré is awesome. Alon in the midfield seems to be. You see him and Benitez communicating. He seems to almost be the focal point of the engine room. If Damari Gray and Townsend can kick on and Calvert-Lewin comes back, it's a good fucking football team.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not good, but let's not get carried away. That's all I'm saying.
What if they finish ahead of Spurs? What if they finish ahead of Spurs?
If they finish ahead of Spurs, Spurs aren't very good either. So you're not convincing me because of that. But
let's revisit how good they are when they play a top 4 team.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it was
That's
Burnley. True. And Burnley outplayed them for the first half. So let's just chill out for a second.
They've got United coming up. They've got Villa, Norwich, so Villa, Norwich, and then United, and then West Ham. So we'll see.
You got an easy start, actually. Now that I've looked at it, they have a very comfortable start, but that could get them on the ball rolling. And once confidence is in a team, it can do a lot.
Are you worried about them against Villa?
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah, I am.
You're always going to be worried in the Premier League. There's always a reason to be worried.
I'm worried about everything.
All right, lads. Well, so we went to the star player earlier when we talked about the United game, and that was obviously, I think we probably would agree when it comes to the moment and the 2 goals he scored and the win at 4-1. Star player of the week, pretty obvious that was the case. JP, I'll start with you. If you were going to pick a different player in the last week's game week, which player would you pick and say that you're like, you know what, that guy stood out for me?
I'm going to keep the striker theme here, and I'm going to go with Lukaku, man. Obviously, he played Villa, and we weren't amazing. We had a backup keeper in. But he had 2 chances, really, and he put both of them away, and it wasn't even hard. He didn't have to play like he played against Arsenal against us. He didn't get a lot of chances. He didn't make a lot happen. But when he was in front of net, man, he was clinical. He was insanely good inside the 18-yard box. It was deadly. I'm going to say he's going to get more goals than Harry Kane this season. I think he's going to get the Golden Boot. I think Chelsea will win the league. I've said that already. I hate it, but I think that's reality. Paulie, you chose Ronaldo, but do you have another player that? That stood out
we had a vote. Other people chose him. But if I had to give
correct me if you need to, but go on.
Just saying. I just want to be clear. It was democracy.
Daddy.
Kovacic for me. I'm gonna say it. Kovacic.
That's a fair shot.
I said it before. I just think like he's the things that were going wrong, he was instrumental in turning it around. Some of the things that happened well for Lukaku in that game were because he's the one who threw that miracle ball through 3 defenders. So I just don't see 3 points happening and Lukaku scoring the 2 goals he scored without Kovacic kind of stepping up in that game because they were getting overrun in the midfield. So for me, what he was able to do that game and how he impacted that game was
good shout.
was worthy.
I
of
love
his
him, man.
second
Honestly,
place.
I remember when Chelsea signed him, they got him for like 15 million. He was one of those guys, you know, as a United fan, I was dying for us to go in for him. And I don't think he's played a lot at Chelsea, but this could be that season for him where he's like, you can't get me out of the lineup. I'm that important. I'm that good. But to JP's point, as much as Kovacic was great, those finishes were ruthless. And
you got to pick somebody else, Connie. Come on, you got somebody else.
I originally picked CR7. I can't remove CR7. He's the GOAT. He's the best player in the league at 36 years old. The team might not be great around him, but you can't stop this guy. He's a machine. And
I think this is his way of saying Moise Keane.
Yeah, Moise Keane. Moise Keane, even though he's at Juventus.
All right, so I'm gonna pick mine, and it's a hard one to pick, but it was obvious because he came on and he scored 2 goals against Spurs, and it's Edouard. I think that's how you say it. Just bought in the transfer window. I don't remember what Palace paid for him, but it wasn't a ton of money. But he ended up around 20 million. Incredible performance. Arguably against a pretty shit defense at Spurs, and so I'm gonna take it away from him a little bit. But to do that in your first game, it was impressive, and he looked like that type of player. So it was difficult to watch, but you got to give him credit where credit is due.
I'm a Celtic fan, and I've seen him play live, and I'm gonna tell you.
He agrees with you.
Yeah.
He agrees with you. He's saying Edouard. He's saying Edouard
Yeah.
is the guy.
Welcome to the show.
Crystal Palace is they're gonna end up hating him.
Yeah, for sure.
He's like a very casual runner. Like
he's a bit like Dumbele, probably.
He's a little Berbatov-esque.
Oh, is he? If he scores like Berbatov and he's that good, nobody's gonna give a shit. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but there's a reason why he cost less than 20. He came from Glasgow Celtic. He's not going to be a Berbatov. He just has that kind of
reminds you of the language.
I'm here to score.
Yeah.
I'll run when I want to kind of vibe.
Even though it's not our category, let's all agree on the bum of the week, Saul Niguez. Let's see. He's got to pick up his socks.
Can't really argue with that.
No,
can't really argue with that.
It is true.
All right, lads. We are nearly an hour in. It's been a pleasure. JP, thanks for joining us as always. Fantastic stuff. Paul, Connie, the usuals. Love you guys. We will be back on Thursday for our preview, and of course, we've got some more content coming at some point, and we're looking forward to sharing that with you guys as well. And we'll see you then. Cheers.
On a personal note, though, is anybody else still hungover from when we went out the other night?
Yes.
Totally fine.
Monday, I was a
Terrible.
I was a
I'm
nightmare.
still hungover.
Just a little hair of the dog,
Thanks
guys.
for the
It'll be fun.
invite, guys.
it.
No invite for me. It's fine.
Well,
We'll send in a private jet for you next time, JP.
thank you for watching, peeps. We'll see you soon.
That up.
This is the North End. This is the North End.